Welcome to the Canes game review episode for game number 5 of the season, a 4-1 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Previewing this game a little bit, in net we've got Frederik Andersen facing his former teammate in Jack Campbell. And this game is the first game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Carolina Hurricanes since the infamous David Ayres emergency backup goalie game in 2020. If you've somehow missed this game, if you're a Leafs fan, if you're a Canes fan, I'm pretty sure you remember it, but if you're watching this video and you have no idea, you've never watched hockey before, in a game in February of 2020, just before the pandemic really kicked off and the NHL shut down, I think just a couple weeks later, in a game in Toronto, the starting goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes in that game was James Reimer. He ended up getting injured. I believe he pulled his groin or tore something. I'm not exactly sure, but he left the game pretty early on in the first period. Peter Mrazek comes in to relieve him. Peter Mrazek comes out and plays the puck. He ends up getting hit and injured on the play by a Leafs player. He came way out of the net. There was a big collision. And as a result of this, for the second time in recent memory, I should say, of course, there was the Chicago-Winnipeg game with the accountant, Scott Foster, I believe, who came in as an emergency backup goaltender. In this one, David Ayres, a Zamboni driver for the Toronto Marlies, a former Junior B hockey player, so he's had some very, amateur to slightly pro experience in hockey. 42 years young. Comes in and backstops the Carolina Hurricanes to a 6-3, win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. In Carolina, this is something of folklore. In Toronto, it was just another notch on the frustration badge or embarrassment badge or whatever you want to call it. A very bad night for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this was important because I consume a lot of Toronto content. If this channel was inspired by Steve Dangle, that game set off, for the rest of that season, kind of set off a whole set of things, and the biggest one was Kyle Dubas decided the next day, which was the trade deadline, to not make any moves. Nevertheless, always a interesting thing to go back and watch. David Ayres has since done some stuff in the Toronto market. He is out there sounding the siren for this game beforehand. Very known in the community, obviously great, him and his wife Sarah, and their charitable causes have been awesome, and all the proceeds from the Canes with his little jersey last year, I actually have it somewhere here. Yeah, this was one of the best stories in hockey, and it happened right before the worst of this pandemic kicked off. Let's get into the game now, and early on, this was I really wasn't getting a good vibe off this game. I thought Toronto was a team that really had something to prove in this one, and they came out really hard in the first period, especially the first half of the first period, and I thought there was some missed calls in this one. There was two notable ones in the first period. On a play in front of the net, Jordan Martinook kind of gets tied up with Jake Muzzin. I thought Martinook did a really good job of keeping his focus on the puck and not physically engaging with Muzzin. And I thought Muzzin hauled him down. And back the other way, a nice Matthews picks up the puck on the half boards. He comes around the net, a perfect wraparound, gets it past Freddie's pad on the right side, far side of the net. He would actually end up trying this same move later and going short side, but Frederik Andersen stopped that one. But nonetheless, only the second time this season so far that the Canes have trailed to start the game. And the Leafs lead 1-0 on Austin Matthews' first of the season, his 200th career goal. And at this point, it was I was getting a little bit worried. I thought this was a game where, as the first period would go on, I thought we were going to get goalied pretty hard. Jack Campbell looked great in this one despite the score. The other notable play that didn't get called, which I thought should have got called, was the Nick Ritchie play on Brett Pesce. I mean, there's actually kind of two on this. I didn't really notice this until I watched Steve Dangle's LFR about this game, and that was Brett Pesce falls, and that's true. He fell, and I think Ritchie probably could have let up or did something different or changed his trajectory going into the hit. Does make head contact. Surprised Pesce actually stayed in this one. He looked like he was going to be severely concussed on this play, but I'm not going to give Richie too much slack. I think it was just kind of a bad hit and, maybe a play that was a lot worse than it could have been. If it was just a regular hit, I don't think anything bad's coming out of this one. But maybe what the real penalty that was missed on this play was Wayne Simmons low blowing Pesci with his stick on the way by, which caused him to fall and get hit by Nick Ritchie in this way. So the officiating to start this game was not great. I mentioned Jack Campbell. Man, was he ever good at the beginning portion of this game. He made a lot of saves in this first period as the Canes kind of turned this one on and ended the period very strong. Svechnikov comes down on the right side. He kind of gets a broken play. It bounces to him. He's trying to settle the puck down so he can get a better shot, but he lets it go, and it actually hits the crossbar and the post on this one. I thought it went in while I was watching the broadcast live. I thought it went back bar and out. It looked like that quick. Man, what a shot by Svech, and unfortunately just hits the crossbar and the post. Comes back out. Frederik Andersen makes a big save on Morgan Riley to end the period, and we'll go to the first intermission down 1-0 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. To open up the second period, a little bit of penalty trouble for the Canes. Brett Pesci goes off for tripping Mitch Marner, which I thought was a little bit of a weaker call, but it was certainly a trip. I didn't mind this call. Marner's a great player who moves his feet very well, so he's going to draw these types of calls all the time. Carolina heads to the penalty kill, which they would eventually kill off, and right after it, Vincent Trocheck comes out. He gets a breakaway, and I don't know. I heard conflicting things, and I thought, just looking at it, I thought Campbell got a piece of the puck on Trocheck's shot, but it definitely looked like it was going wide. Just not a great shot from Vincent Trocheck. And, we remain down 1 goal. Marduk and Foss come down on a 2-on-1, create a really good play. Foss couldn't elevate it on the pass across, unfortunately. Jack Campbell slides across to make a fantastic save. And right after that, a shot from the point gets through. Aho tips it past Campbell. And we're tied 1-1. And then kind of the middle portion of this period went very slow. A lot of neutral zone play back and forth. And eventually this play starts off with Sandin and Steven Lawrence, and man, what a play here. Just the complete opposite spectrums here. Just the scale of going up and down. Let's break this one down. So Lawrence and Sandin in the Toronto zone are engaging in a bit of a puck battle, a physical battle in the middle of the ice. It all happens pretty quick. Steven Lawrence is 6'4". He's pretty big. Rasmus Sandin, a considerably smaller player, especially in the weight category. He gets bodied pretty heavily here by Steven Lawrence. One thing I noticed that I don't think anybody else really picked up on was what happened after Lawrence went to take the shot. So Lawrence spins around and just wants to fire this puck on goal. The puck is sitting right in the slot, prime, just maybe 2-3 feet away from Jack Campbell. And what happens is Sandin comes back around at the last second, and he gets his stick right on the hands of Steven Lawrence as Lawrence is releasing the puck. And I couldn't determine this from any angles, or I think I only saw 2 angles of it, and one doesn't show it great, and the other one does show it in the slow-mo. But I think what happens mostly is Sandin comes across, hits Lawrence on the hands as he's releasing the puck, and what ends up happening is it changes the trajectory of the shot. If you look at Campbell, he's got his glove up high like this. And honestly, if you look at the way, Lawrence's stick is, he's going top right corner where the glove of Jack Campbell is. And as that stick comes across, hits Lawrence on the hands, I think his blade double taps the puck, and what happens is it knocks it down along the ice through the 5-hole of Jack Campbell. The Canes lead 2-1, but on this play, really what it's about is Rasmus Sandin can't get beat like this, even though it's a friggin' great effort by Steven Lawrence. On a play a little while later after the 2-1 goal, the Leafs trying to get back into this one. Tavares finds himself on the left-hand circle, just kind of all alone, all day in the world. Nobody's around him. He's got all the time to look. He spots it. He goes for the snipe, hits the post, out the opposite way. The game remains 2-1. Jacob Slavin goes off for a penalty, which will be like his 1 or 2 of this year. Man, this guy never takes penalties. Trips Justin Hall, so the Canes head to the PK. And on this penalty kill, Frederik Andersen made a ton of saves. There was a notable one where he was out completely. And just skidding out and out and out a little bit further. And like he's out in the butterfly on the top of his crease, all white ice around him, and he's still making saves. And then, oh man, this play. I'm going to obviously analyze this from the Canes side, but I do want to bring in the Leafs side of this as well. Bit of a broken play starts in the Toronto zone. The puck's bobbling a bit. Stahl finds the puck and just moves it back to Slavin. Actually, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. I'm going to go back. On the half boards, right along the point on the right side, Ethan Bear and Mitch Marner are in a puck battle. Bear ends up winning it. That broken play leads to Stahl getting the puck and finding Slavin. Marner again coming in to forecheck Slavin at the point. Slavin makes a terrific move around Marner, leaves him in the dust. Finds Nino Niederreiter down low at the goal line. He takes it on the left side, comes across with his forehand, slides the puck underneath Campbell's right side blocker, and the Canes lead 3-1. But let's break this down a little bit from the Toronto side. Mitch Marner loses 3 puck battles on this play. And, man, just, again, things are going from bad to worse in Toronto. And this is just a shining example of just getting outworked in your own end. And at the end of the period, Brett Pesce makes a great defensive play as Toronto was surging to end the second period here. But that will do it for the second. The Carolina Hurricanes lead 3-1 heading into the third period. Opening up the third period, and one thing I really noticed, and I didn't really in the first 2 periods, but the Stahl, Nino, and Foss line was matched up against the Tavares line of the Leafs, I should say, all night. And Stahl made this game so difficult on John Tavares. Like, every time I was watching Tavares, outside of when he hits the post in the second period, in this game, every time Tavares is in the zone, he has no space. Jordan Stahl was hounding him everywhere he went. David Kampf ends up going off for a hooking call. One of Toronto's most prominent penalty killers is in the box as the Canes head back to the power play. Kerfoot ends up with a shorthanded chance on this play. A penalty, of course, I think it was a slash or a hook, ends up coming in, but a nice 2-on-1 play by the Leafs. Kerfoot ends up going forehand to back in. I think Freddie gets a piece of it, makes the stop, or I don't know, either that or Kerfoot just missed on this breakaway attempt. And after that, that was pretty much all the offense for Toronto in this game. The next few minutes would just be dominated by Carolina. A 2-on-1 with Trocheck getting a really nice chance. Campbell makes the save on that one. And then a little bit after that, Nietzsche actually ends up finding his way into the slot, almost going right to the net, and he kind of just gets mugged by Andre Kasha on his way to the goal, hauled down. Kasha was off for, I believe it was holding, and the Carolina Hurricanes head back to the power play. And I believe that power play would get killed off by the Toronto Maple Leafs, I know both teams went 0 for 3 on the power play in this one, but the end of the game, Andrei Svechnikov breaks through a nice little chip play with his stick, gets it through, gets past, finds the empty net, 4-1 Hurricanes, and that's how this one would end. So let's start by highlighting a couple players. I want to highlight Jordan Stahl very quickly. I thought he had such an effective defensive game in this one. He was all over the place on the offensive too, so man, just the captain leading by example with this team. And again, let's mention Frederik Andersen. Not only does he get to come in and beat his former team, he sets a record in the process. Frederik Andersen becomes only the second goaltender in NHL history to start with his new team and go 5-0-0. He ties this record with Frank McCool, the Toronto Maple Leafs, from 1944-45. And yeah, that's a heck of a record to tie. Hopefully, I don't know if he can break it. I'm assuming if he wins his next game against, who are we playing next, Boston? Yeah, I assume that on Thursday, if he's playing against Boston and he wins that game, that will break the record officially. But what a start for Freddie in Carolina. He's just been so dang solid. Honestly, I didn't have a lot of confidence coming out of the Islanders game to open up the season, but since then, don't think he's allowed more than 1 goal in any game. Sorry, he allowed 2 in the Nashville game, but nevertheless, I think that one of them was right at the end of the game, so that's why I'm misremembering it. But yeah, he's just been, man, what a fantastic start. Talking about any players that were average, I didn't think Tony DeAngelo's game was overly great in this one. What I do like that I've seen so far from Tony is that the stuff that I thought in the first game of the season, where he was overhandling the puck, over skating with it, maybe just trying a little bit too much with the puck, that he seems to have curbed that a little bit in the game since, which I really, really like. An effective puck handler. I'm sure the offense will come eventually. I know he's got an assist or two on the season so far, but from what I've seen, I've really liked Tony's game. And like I mentioned in probably the first episode this season, him and Bear are the Dougie Hamilton replacement, not just D'Angelo himself. If the offense can keep up the way it's started the season, I don't think there's going to be any issues worrying about, replacing Dougie's production. Thought about talking about a bad player, but I didn't really see one in this game. I thought everybody was good to average, and that's all you can ask for. No player stood out to me as having a bad game or a rough night or anything like that. So this was maybe the best performance of the season. I know Brendan Moore talked about that after the game. He said that this was the best performance, at least the first period of the season so far for Carolina. Yeah, what a game for the Canes in this one. 5-0-0 to start the season. Fantastic, and a huge matchup on Thursday night against the Boston Bruins. A thorn in the Canes' side for sure. In the recent years, playoffs have not been successful against them. So this will be an interesting matchup. I think the Bruins are probably the perfect test right now for them. And just to highlight a Leafs player, I'm going to go with the obvious, Austin Matthews in this one. I know I did a little bit of highlighting of Mitch Marner earlier in a bit of a negative light, but Matthews scored in this game, and he got shut down a lot. I think the Slavin Bear tandem was out a lot against him in this game, and pretty much anytime you get matched up against Jacob Slavin, you're not going to have a good time out there. But I think he was incredible, that wraparound, and then to come back and do the same wraparound play but go short side with it is really sick. Man, I just love that play. But he's one of those players I just love watching. He's so good with the puck, so much control. What a great shot. And hopefully, they're going to have to start getting it figured out soon in Toronto, because this is starting to look real bad. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, consider giving it a thumbs up down below. If you like this kind of content for the Carolina Hurricanes or around the National Hockey League, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And go ahead and hit that notification bell down below so that you can get these videos as soon as they upload. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.